You know that as a gamer, there's a lot of disadvantages that people are telling you. You have less attention to put towards your life. You could be building a business instead of gaming and all this kind of stuff. But what I've noticed recently is that the people who are coming up to material success specifically are ex-gamers. I think of Hamza, Healthy Gamer GG, Tom Bilyeu, people like even Elon Musk and Sam Altman, and other creators like Cole Hastings. And if you're inspired by this, the problem with this mentality is that you'll think one-dimensionally and you will assume that if you play games, then you can be like these people. And here's the thing, you wouldn't know any one of those people if they didn't channel that gravitation they had towards gaming and put it into what they're actually interested in. And this is why gaming will either make or break your life. Because what gaming explains to you about yourself is that you require focus, attention, skill building, and depth of knowledge to be actually engaged with something. Think about someone who is addicted to gaming versus addicted to something like binge watching TV shows. You don't need a depth of knowledge, focus, skill, attention, consistency, and so many other good qualities to be able to binge TV shows, which you do to be able to be addicted to games. And there's also a spectrum to this, because I could be talking about mobile games like random shit like Candy Crush, or I could be talking about really hard games like the Souls games, or even very competitive online games like League of Legends or Apex Legends. What I hate about this topic is that there's been hundreds or even thousands of videos that are telling you if you just took the same amount of effort and skill that you put into gaming into your real life, then you would be way more successful. And that doesn't help you in one bit, because they don't understand why you were so attracted to games in the first place. This is what I call one-dimensional thinking. You take one idea and you apply it linearly to another idea and think that it will solve the problem. Now, to upgrade that one-dimensional thinking and upgrade it to two-dimensional thinking, you would think about the how instead of the what. So you would start to ask yourself, how can I make my life more like a game? And this is where you get into your second problem. You can find these YouTube channels of gamification gurus who tell you how to turn your life into a game, but that's the problem. The weird and good thing about this is that it takes people who are at a level of 0 and takes them to 100, but it will halt their progress at 100 and won't be able to take them to 1,000, because they hang on to the idea that their life has to be like a game, and that means things have to be easy. It has to have all these different things and game elements, otherwise your life is not a game, and therefore your life is something that is not cohesive. So a clear example is the whole hype around solo leveling the anime but put into real life. Now the thing is, if you literally take the elements from solo leveling, think about just the attribute system that they use in solo leveling. That leveling system was designed for the anime, and that anime is not real life, and the circumstances within Sun Jin-woo's life in the anime are extremely unrealistic. And the thing is, you're trying to take this two-dimensional concept and force it into a three-dimensional reality of life. And to carry on with that metaphor, if you have something that is two-dimensional brought into a three-dimensional plane, you can only have 2 dimensions of improvement. So like I said, it brings these people from 0 to 100 if they have no way to structure their life, but it won't take them from 100 to 1,000. It won't let them hit that third dimension of improvement. And that third dimension of improvement is focusing on the why. And I literally haven't seen any other gamification YouTuber that focuses on the third dimension, the why of all of these game design techniques. They all are just stuck in 2 dimensions and are focusing on the how. And I'm making this statement very blatantly because I want to meet the people, if there are some, who are focusing on that third dimension level thinking. But I literally haven't seen it. So if you have, tag them, or if you're watching this, hit me up, dude. So let me explain the why version of how you would treat your life like a game. We started with the one-dimensional linear thinking of what do I need to do to force my life to be a game? Then we started thinking of the two-dimensional thought process and how do I take these game elements and put it into my life? And now we're in the why. Why does this game element work in the game? And why would it not work in real life? And then you think, how would this look like in real life? And what would it do for me if I were to implement it? And that's the problem. Most of these people are too lazy to recreate the game elements to let them fit into life because they don't have that depth of thinking. Now that we understand this level of thinking, let's understand why games will either make or break your life, and take these people who have become role models for gamers and understand why and how and what they did to apply their passion for games and bring it into something that brought them real life success. Because when I've looked at them on interviews, these guys will tell you, I changed my life once I started to treat my life more like a game. And then you're probably thinking, man, I'd really love to do that too. And you look at these guys who are telling you the what and the how, the 1 and 2 dimensional thinking, but they fail to give you the 3-dimensional thinking that will actually take you to the level that these people got to. And the crux of thinking of the why means that we're going to think of not the people who play the games, but the people who design the games. And to get into that state, you want to think, how much time does a game designer spend trying to make the game as fulfilling as possible for the player, even though there are some parts of the game that are really boring, extremely hard, or very difficult? Think about how much time and effort and all the techniques and hacks that game designer will have to use in order to guide the player through that process. Now think about all the systems that they would put in place to get that done. And think now about your own life. Now in comparison, think about how much time, effort, and energy you spend into making systems and frameworks and giving yourself the mindset, the right mindset for you to live the life that you want to live. And that chasm of difference is what will either make you or break you in your love for games. See, all of the people I talked about started reading self-improvement books and applying that knowledge as if they were looking up the walkthrough to a really fucking hard game. And the beautiful thing about this is that in game design, you've already experienced everything that those books are going to teach you. I think one of the earliest games that I ever got addicted to was RuneScape. And the thing about that game that I remember is that I had to mine materials in order to get really good armor. And that meant that every single day I had to log in and click the mining button and sit there and just deal with the boredom of having to mine and do grinding activities to get what I wanted. And you're literally going to be told to do the exact same thing in different ways in self-development books, like Atomic Habits. Thinking in 3D, the underlying reason why I was willing to go through the boring and hard task of doing all of that to get the armor is because the game designer made sure that the process was extremely clear to follow, and it was really easy for me to be able to get into the groove of doing the mining. There was a clear location that I had to go to. I could teleport to that location. I knew exactly what materials I needed to get in order to get the armor. All of these things were set out meticulously by the game designer, and that's where you'll find yourself behind all of these people that I mentioned, because what they did is that they became the game designers of their own lives. They read books like Atomic Habits, and they had to learn to set up the systems and the frameworks to be able to do the things that they knew they had to do, even if they knew they didn't really want to do it in the moment. And the way that they made it easier for themselves is by building those frameworks. And this is the beautiful thing about being a gamer. You know good game design when you see it, and you know bad game design when you see it too. You complain about games that have bad game design and mechanics, but you know when games have good game design, you're addicted to them because the process is so easy to do. And the same thing will happen within your own life. If you're watching this, I'm willing to bet that the quote-unquote game design of your own life isn't as great as it could be, but you have the potential to take these game elements and recreate them and apply them to your own life. One that I wanted to cover with you is a leveling system for life, and explain that we need to recreate how we think of leveling systems in life, because how they are in games is completely removed from what they actually are in reality. See, the thing in games is that the leveling system is very clear because it's a closed space, and the game designer can fine-tune that leveling system to every interaction you do within the game. If you're at this level, killing this monster creates exactly this much XP. But for real life, it's completely tipped on its head, because if you're going into a field of expertise where it's mostly based on knowledge or skill, the thing is it's a bit more like League of Legends, a game where the meta changes from week to week as people discover new things. The best thing that you can take away from this conversation is that you need to stop thinking about playing your life like a game and start thinking about designing your life as if you were the game designer of life itself. You need to realize and not get trapped in the thought of 1 or 2-dimensional thinking about games being relative to life, and recreate the systems that will help you live a better life in general. And the most practical way to do that is to use a framework that would help you do that in the first place. And that's literally why I created a Notion-based app called Life Game Design that helps you design your life as if it were a really hard game. It's still in development, so it's free, and I just recently made a massive update that helps you understand what what the gameplay loop is of designing a fulfilling life for yourself. And there are so many more game design techniques that I really want to share with you, but I won't see you again if you don't hit the subscribe button. So smash that button, become a designer, and I'd love to talk to you again about game design techniques that we can apply to our lives.